Hello, I'm Tom Bailey, and in today's episode, I'll be getting to know Veronica Kirin, who is an anthropologist, a serial entrepreneur, and a coach to Disruptive Entrepreneurs. She was also recognized as a 2020 40 LGBTQ Leaders Under 40 by Business Equality magazine. So, Veronica, hello, and a very warm welcome to today's episode.
Hi, Tom. Thank you. So nice to see you.
Thank you so much for being here. And just out of interest, whereabouts are you in the world right now?
I'm currently in Berlin, Germany.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. And I just want to share one last thing about you before we do get started. So Veronica's coaching business was the first in Grand Rapids to be certified with the National LGBT Chamber of Commerce, and her client work heavily focuses on scaling for exponential and sustainable growth. The title for today's episode is Scale Your Business in 3 Easy Steps. And Veronica's going to show us how to do that in just 7 minutes. So question number 1 today is, who is your ideal client?
My ideal client are millennials and Gen X who are entrepreneurs, who feel like they are hitting a wall to some extent, which we'll get into a little bit more.
I'm sure we will. Fantastic. And I guess this wall may come up, but when you first start working with your clients, what's the biggest challenge that they typically face?
Yeah, so they have a vision for the future. They're impact driven. So they really want to make an impact for their clients, customers, communities, et cetera. But they feel like they're hitting a wall. They can't seem to get the growth that they want. It feels like they have to hustle. They're constantly on the edge of burnout, and they can't seem to grow past a certain place, no matter what they try.
And just out of interest, that certain place, is that normally like revenue, like how much I can make in a month, for example?
It can be many different avenues in their company. So it can be revenue, it can be clientele, it can be reach, it can be adding different resources to the company. And they feel like they don't have the time or the energy to take the next step, even though they had the vision for the next step.
Yeah, got it. So whatever the metric is, it's that you've hit that ceiling, I guess, and you can't go any further.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. And I guess by reaching this plateau, this ceiling, what impact can that have on either them or their business?
Yeah, so I am my own case study with my tech company several years ago. I was at that edge and I kept burning out. I was constantly overdrawing my account. I couldn't seem to get out of bed some days. I felt like I had to work so hard for so little, and I never knew where the next dollar was coming from. It felt like I was on a hamster wheel. Yeah. And that is what is happening to my clients, where they have brilliant ideas. They have all the tools that they actually need. They just don't realize it. And so they're not having the impact that they want to have on the world. And then the world suffers as well because there's such goodness available.
And they're just not able to share it as wide as they possibly wanted to.
Exactly.
So what would you say is one valuable piece of advice that you might give to somebody in this position that really wants to solve this problem?
Yeah, so that's where I come back to my 3 pillars of business scaling. So first of all, small businesses don't get the startup ecosystem, that intensity that startups receive, where everyone's teaching them how to scale and telling them to do what the next steps are. And so it took me a while as a small business owner to discover this myself. And I've distilled it into 3 steps to make it easy for other small business owners to take action in order to scale. And scaling means exponential growth without adding to your own workload. So can you imagine what it would be like to expand like that, but without adding to your workload? Should I get into the 3 steps in particular?
Let's dive in. Yeah, what are those 3 steps out of interest?
So the first pillar is automation. I'm actually teaching a workshop this week with automation because it's such a critical part, especially these days where technology can do so much for so little, often for free. Yeah. So we're talking making money in your sleep. Nice. Who doesn't want that? The next pillar is systems. And so I'm talking about making sure that every step within your business is clearly defined, especially if it's something that is repetitive, because we can't study what we don't know. And if there's a hole in your business, if there's a blind spot, if something's missing, which there probably is if you're feeling like you're burning out all the time, then we need to study what's going on. We need to find it, and we can't find it if we don't have systems.
Yeah.
The third pillar is hiring. So that's where we start outsourcing all the way up to having full-time employees, hiring a CTO, a CMO. The sky's the limit, and it should be for entrepreneurs. Automation means that you don't pay another human for something tech could do for free. Systems mean you can train faster and better. So you make the right hire the first time and spend less time getting them into the company and have them take over where it's so critical for you. And through that, your time expands, your reach expands, your income expands. It's fabulous.
And it all happens exponentially as well, which is what we want.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yep. Just keep doing the 3 steps over and over and over throughout the business.
Brilliant. Automation, systems, hiring. I love it. And the next question is, what is one valuable resource that you can share with people to help them move forward with this opportunity?
Well, as I said, I'm all about demystifying this process of scaling because there are so few resources given to small businesses for scaling.
Yeah.
And so I created an in-depth guide called Find Your Scaling Blind Spot, because you probably don't even know where in the process you are. For example, I have a colleague who just asked me, how do I hire an assistant? I'm so ready. I told her about the 3 pillars, and turns out she's at pillar 1. She hasn't even started the pillars yet, but she's trying to hire. So this guide will help you find where you are in the process and tell you what to do next.
Got it. And just out of interest on that point, then, would you say you need to do step 1 before you do step 2, and then do step 2 before you do step 3 as well?
I recommend it.
Ideally,
but I know a lot of entrepreneurs and have had many clients who are way down the line, and we have to kind of go back a little bit, and that's okay.
Yeah, but if you're starting out, start with that automation, then systemize, then hire. So fantastic. Yeah. Okay, so on your journey, then obviously you've had a lot of great wins in business. What would you say is one of your greatest either learnings, mistakes, or failures that you've made personally, either in life or in business, and what did you learn from it?
Yeah, definitely. So I think one of my greatest feelings actually was in one of my startups, because before you even get going, you should be talking to your co-founders about who's doing what, when, and why. And we didn't have that conversation. And so when one of our co-founders left, the whole thing collapsed. So if you do have co-founders, or if you have employees, you need to make it really clear who's doing what, when are they doing it, why are they doing it, what tools do they need, and how are they doing it. And if you don't have that clarity, you're going to find yourself at a collapse point at some point, and it will rip the rug out from under you, and it's awful.
Absolutely, yes. That clarity on roles, responsibilities, and then I guess trying to capture what it is they do as a process as well. That would be extremely helpful.
Exactly.
Okay, and the last question I've got for you today then is, what is the one question that I should have asked you today that will also bring some great value to our audience?
Tom, I think that's a great question. I love that you asked that. So I think that a lot of people listening will think that my case was a special case, because I took my hours from a 70-hour work week of burnout to 10 hours a week, which I think most people are going to think is just unique. And it was a special case because I ran a tech company or something. I've been coaching for 5 years. I sold that company in 2018. I had some overlap in coaching while I had that company, and I've been working with entrepreneurs around the world since then. And I can tell you definitively that I've not met a company that cannot be scaled. So take the steps, get the guide. This will work for you, and get yourself out of burnout.
Awesome. Absolutely. And what I'll do as well, Veronica, is I'll post links in the show notes to both your guide and to your website as well, so people can just dive in and reach out to you if they want.
Perfect.
So wanted to just thank you again so much for your time today and for bringing such great value to our audience.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.